Welcome to the T Row Show. It's your host, Keith. We've got some things to cover here. I want everybody to, if you could just listen, it's going to sound like I'm starting out with something new, but we're going to go in a different, or something older, but going in a different direction. I've got the Genoa Institute has a subscription group. In that group, I do classes every month, live classes with them. And we're going to be talking about a lot about how to deal with police and stuff like that when you have encounters with them with that group. So I noticed when I was on YouTube how many people, or there's like 4 or 5 people that are doing things that are awesome, and they're exposing, and I mean exposing the totalitarianism in the police. Even your just regular guy, just a regular cop, probably a real nice guy, the whole thing, and he does the same exact thing. Now, most of these people, the one thing I'm noticing, it caught my eye, is that a lot of these people are suing the civil rights and Title 42, Section 1983, blah, blah, blah. Okay, for about 20 years, that wasn't working at all. They would just get it out, they would throw them out. But something's happening where they're starting to enforce the Constitution again in the police stations and the local area and the federal area. They're starting to listen to people for some odd reason. We don't know why. The people do not qualify as citizens. They have to have a social compact to do that. They don't have that. The social compact is in at least 6 constitutions within the states of the Union, and they don't listen to that. However, what I'm noticing is that they have started enforcing the First, Fourth, Fifth, and 14th Amendment. Why? I don't know. I have no idea, but it seems to be a new movement going on. And since they've been doing that, there's these guys that go around and then photograph police stations to get a rise out of the cops, to expose them for how totalitarian they are. Okay. So I'm trying to qualify the video that you're getting ready to watch. I want you to see one of these guys have been in the police force for 27 years. The other one, the other lady, has been in there for, like, I don't know, a little over 20 years. High ranking sergeant, lieutenant, that kind of thing, or whatever they are. Why they use military rank, I have no idea. A police officer, civilian police officer, if he's civilian, cannot use a sergeant stripe. So you're not a sergeant. You're not in the military. So you're not a sergeant. You can't go overseas and fight in another country. You cannot invade another country. You do not qualify as military. And I see all these people. Well, that's lieutenant. Really? You're an officer? Come on. Take those bars off, you idiot. You're not even close to being worthy of something like that in the military, because you got to give up your whole life when you're in the military. It's just the way it is. So that's how guys see it in the military when they see civilian cops with rank on. Really? Yeah. Okay, we're going to play lieutenant today. So, anyways, they're starting to call them American citizens. Maybe we helped. Maybe we did something to change their minds as to what they were doing, to show them how far off they were throughout the T Row show since 2015 or 16. Maybe we helped. I don't know. But if they're going to do this, there's a way to do this. Now, I'm not saying that I want to be associated with the U.S. I'm not saying that at all. Just because they're starting to enforce their Constitution does not mean that I want to associate with them. I'm going to tell you exactly why. This is the reason why I don't. I don't agree with gay marriage. I don't agree with LGBT and all that. I don't agree with that, and I don't want to be a part of it. I don't want to be associated with it. When I see Biden sniffing kids, it makes your skin crawl, because you know what he is. Everyone knows what the man is. Okay, I don't like the fact that they're trying to make pedo legal. I don't like that. That's not the way to go. I'm not going to be associated with it. I refuse to be associated with that kind of thing. So therefore, if that's the way they want to go, you can go that way in that direction. I'm not going to go in that direction. And I'm sure there are a lot of people that feel the same exact way. They just don't know what to do. So that's one of the reasons why we formed, not formed because it was formed like 2,000 years ago. The reign of the heavens was actually a country. But we put a constitution together and said, okay, this is what we're going to do for our commerce, has mostly the word in it, has Bible scriptures in it and all that, and to deal with our commerce and how we deal with each other. Ever since we've put that together, there have been, I don't think, any fights whatsoever. No one has tried to tear it apart. No one has started any fights, nothing. It's been really, really nice because everybody knows who the king is and everybody knows who runs it. So once the power was all taken out of man's hands, it seems as if it all just went to peace. I don't know if you guys feel that way or see it that way, but I've noticed it happening. So it's a set apart place to stay away from all of the wickedness going on in the world, all the mysticism and the way the religion is going through mysticism and all these Christians calling themselves Christians, but they're not. All this kind of crap that's going on. If you want to be set apart from that, become a reign citizen. You don't have to, you don't have to change anything. We've got a way to do that now. Okay, we've got a way to where you can work it, how you interface with the world, how you interface without it. But and it's been extremely peaceful. So we do appreciate that, Yeshua, for doing what you do, and it's awesome. It's been an absolute privilege and a pleasure looking to Him as your authority and not man. Absolutely incredible. So they're right about it. Now I'm gonna move on. In dealing with the U.S., everybody knows what a pain in the butt it is to deal with the U.S. because most of the people in the U.S. and how they're trained is shoot first, ask questions later. Hey, that's alive. I don't know what it is. Let's kill it. That's been the mentality for a long time. Okay. We don't understand how these police officers are not enforcing their oaths. But I believe a lot of those questions are going to be answered here in just a little while, just a few minutes. So there was this one woman who, just to kind of set this up. You're going to be seeing a deposition. It's about 20 minutes long. I'm going to stop and talk during the whole thing. I don't know if we need to see the whole thing, but when the point is gotten across, you'll see it. All right. What's happening is that journalists are looking up the law. They're looking up statutes, and they're going out in front of police stations. If you haven't seen it, it's hilarious. They're going in front of police stations and just filming. That's all they're doing. They have a right to do it. They actually have a right to go in the police station. Here's the deal. The police don't know that. They don't know that they have a right to go in and do it. It's a public place. A police station is a public place. There are no private areas in police stations. Why? Because none of those police pay for it. It's taxpayer money that pays for it. So they have formed their own little clique and groups within police that they think they own everything. And you're the enemy because you're the outsider, even though you're paying their bills. When they turn on a computer in their office, they didn't pay for that. The people pay for that, especially on the local level. Okay, so that's number one. They don't like to act like they're you're paying their bills because they look at you like trash. All people like trash. They have no respect in their a bone in their body for anyone that they work for. They cannot stand the public. They hate them. So if I had a job where it was such a pain in the butt that I didn't like, I mean, everybody hates customer service. Can you imagine being a customer service person in a hotel? Worst job in the world. Absolutely the worst job in the world. When you have a customer that's being belligerent, and most of them are because they're tired. They've been driving all day and they just want to get into the room. And anything that delays that is the biggest, most inconvenient thing that they've ever seen. And would probably sacrifice their daughter in a volcano just to get in the freaking room. That's how they want it. You know what I mean? And they got to sit and listen to this garbage that people spew on them. And fine, just give my money back. Give my money back. Blah, blah, blah. Well, I have to do this in order to do that. They have to tell them why they're doing it, all this other kind of crap. So it's the worst job in the world. So if that's the kind of job that you see, like as a cop, that you see the public being that way all the time, then quit. Just quit. If you don't like the job and you can't handle it, quit. Okay? Because you're making everyone look like idiots. And what I mean by that is the people are having a hard time getting rid of you off the job. There was this guy named Blair's something like that, murdered a guy. Believe me, I've watched plenty of these, and murdered him right in the middle of a hallway, and didn't think nothing of it. Now he's on leave. He gets workman's comp under PTSD because he murdered somebody. Plus, everybody was ragging him out in the city. They kind of chased him out of there, and he said, "Well, he's a little geek," is what he was. You could tell because he's been picked on in high school. Everybody could tell that. And he ran the system, and the guy lost his life. He had a good marriage. The man that he killed had a good marriage and two daughters, two young ones like that, 6, 7 years old. Sad. It was really sad. But one of the main things that I see when it comes to police encounters is the police officers don't realize what position they hold. Because remember when we were in school, and usually around fourth or fifth grade, the cop comes in to the room and starts introducing himself to you. Hi, I'm your friend and I'm your buddy. This is right after you realize there's no Santa Claus and now mom and dad are liars, right? Or there's no Easter bunny and all that. I've done one of those de-imaging programs. But usually it's around that time when the cop comes in, he's got his gun and he shows people his gun. This is what we do. If you have any problem whatsoever, you come to us. So basically, what's happened is in the children's minds, mom and dad are liars, so they're going to go to the honest guy, the honest cop. Well, that's the biggest lie you could ever imagine. And believe me, I have plenty of videos and I've seen plenty of videos that prove that lie. So I'm not saying, oh, it's this, it's that, and this is my opinion. I have the facts. There's all kinds of facts out there. Everybody can see it on YouTube. So nobody's under any delusions here that police officers won't lie, because they do all the time. And they falsify records and they do all kinds of stuff. That's the kind of crap that needs to go away. However, the only way to make that go away is to hit them in the pocketbook. Hit the city in the pocketbook. And then maybe they'll invest a little bit more on what I'm about to show you. Okay? So just realize that. So when you have a cop encounter, you're expecting that this guy is going to have your back, the guy with the badge, that he's going to support you and have your back. All right? And then what happens when that gets turned around on you? Happened to me, which probably hurt me more than anything when they were messing with me for 9 months and all that. Probably that hurt me the most. Because I those guys I would look at as, they're good guys. They're always going to, be honest and stuff. But man, was I stupid and ignorant. And naive. All right. So just realize that, that these are the things you have to learn in order to protect yourself. So here we go. This one woman was in front of a police station and she was filming. Well, they came out and started asking her questions. And she says, they said, "Do you have any ID?" She goes, "I don't have to show you ID." "Well, yeah, you do. You're on, this is public property. I don't have to show you ID. Am I, what crime am I being accused of?" He shuts up and keeps going. "Can you articulate that crime?" Shuts up. He just keeps going with what he's doing. "Well, what we need to do is just write a report. We need to write a report." "No, you don't, because nothing's happening. If you're out here filming, you need to write a report." "No, you don't. I'm not doing anything wrong. All I'm doing is filming." Now, I know why the cop says that. I'm going to explain that after this. Okay. I know why the cop is worried about somebody filming the police station. I know that side, but I also know the other side, that you, in fact, do not have the right to even stop this woman. It's the same as you don't have the right to stop all the other men and women that are doing the same exact thing. It's literally become a business, folks. A business. It's incredible. These people will make 75 to 100,000, sometimes 300,000 a year, just filming police stations, because the cops are so dumb, they fall for it every time. All right, so here we go. Let me go ahead and share screens. Let's see what we got here. Hopefully this is the right one. Okay, there it is. Okay, did that change? There it is. All right. So here we go. Now, what this is for is you're going to see what you're actually dealing with. Okay?
What lawful basis was there for you to ask for her ID?
Okay, see, does everybody hear that? Do I have it all done? Nobody, yes, no, maybe?
Yes.
Yes, I got the share sound. Okay. Okay, he went out there and asked for her for ID, and it starts out with, what lawful basis did you have to ask her for an ID?
I don't know.
In order to detain somebody, what do you have to have legally? Do you know?
I do not know the law legally.
Okay. Doesn't there have to be reasonable suspicion that the person committed a criminal offense or violated a law?
Because I don't know the law exactly.
You don't know when an officer is allowed to detain somebody?
This is Sergeant Jennifer Larson and Lieutenant Donald Malazzo, both police officers that had served for over 20 years, being deposed for the illegal apprehension and arrest of a woman named Samantha, aka Pink Camera Magic, on YouTube, who had been recording at the Cook County Courthouse building from outside.
Hey, ma'am, you know this is a public building?
Exactly, that's why I'm recording it.
It's also a court facility,
Yep.
which there is a judicial law or judicial order that says that you cannot tape this building.
Can I see that order?
Yes, come on in. We're going to check your IDs too.
Oh, no, I'm not going in.
Oh, yeah, no. We're going to run you too.
No, that's all
We're going to
right.
get your name. We're going to do a report and everything. So come on in. All right?
No.
No, yeah, you're going to come in now.
Am I being detained?
Yes.
For what?
Because right now you are doing something suspicious.
That's not a reason to detain anybody.
Well, it is for Dana. Come on.
It's really not.
Let's go
so
inside
I'm just going
now.
to stay here and continue recording.
Okay. You're going to come in and we're going to find out who you are and what you're doing here.
No, you're not.
Okay.
Now, folks, this guy just broke the law at least 3 times within a matter of 35 seconds, I think. A minute 35. He's broke the law 3 times already.
All right, who's got cuffs? She does not want to go agreeably.
The interaction begins with Lieutenant Milazzo approaching Samantha and stating that she can't record in a public building, and that is enough reason for him to detain her as she didn't provide her ID. But what Milazzo doesn't know is that what he's doing is actually illegal, as it is completely legal to take photographs or film public places in all states unless oral conversations are recorded, which is not the case here.
Okay?
I'm being detained for just taking pictures of the building.
Yes, ma'am. You're doing something suspicious, and we need to know who you are and why you're doing it. Okay?
I'm familiar
That is a corrupt cop. You're watching a corrupt so-called lieutenant. I can't really call them lieutenants, but I'll just call him Milazzo, okay? Because he's not an officer. He's an idiot. All right?
with the First Amendment.
Yes. I am.
Really?
Boom,
Give me
got
the
it.
bag.
Stole it.
You see this black box right here? Well, I'm going to
That
show you
was
something
stealing.
right now.
Okay?
Some people are concerned that they might have to go for a
There we go.
I tried to do this nicely.
He believes that if he's doing things nicely, it's okay for him to do
You
it.
are aware of Homeland Security, right?
After
Listen to
noticing
that right
multiple
there.
times that
By way of Homeland Security. Remember what he just said there.
he was being recorded, Milazzo finally decided to aggressively grab Samantha's camera with which she was recording him, to later detain her and take her inside.
I'm a lawyer.
Okay, call your lawyer.
That includes my camera as far as consent.
Well, it's already on.
You're familiar with the Fourth Amendment?
Oh, great. Why do we always get the crazies?
I don't know.
That second person in the scene, the one wearing the body cam, is Sergeant Jennifer Larson, and what she and Lieutenant Milazzo don't seem to realize is that what they are doing is absolutely outside the boundaries of the law, and that Samantha knows that. Denying yet again showing her ID, Samantha notices that Lieutenant Milazzo is doing something shady with her camera.
Did you delete my footage?
Do you want to cooperate or not?
Remaining silent.
It is only making it worse. Do you want to give us an
Remaining
ID?
silent. Remaining silent. Don't get.
Okay, she has the right to remain silent as long as she wants to. They watch two corrupt police officers. Probably they will keep threatening her and threatening her and threatening her. And this is where a lot of people start folding because they don't realize, they don't know what their rights are. So if you don't know your rights, you're going to keep folding like this. And this is just going to keep going on. And you're not going to get two idiots like this out of a job has been hurting people for 27 years. This idiot has been a police officer. Feel safe now? And this sergeant.
Consent to searches.
We're not going to search you. We're asking you for an ID.
If this wasn't enough, the officers then mockingly laugh at her after she invokes her right to remain silent.
What the f*** is going on today?
I don't know.
Every crazy loon in the building is coming. All we're asking is an ID.
We're asking for an
If you
ID.
know how to do it, we'll do a report. You can go on your way with your camera. Otherwise, I'm going to confiscate the camera, and we're going to take you downstairs
what
and
crime?
we'll print you. Because you're suspicious.
I'm remaining silent.
Seeing no cooperation on her side, the officers then decide to give Samantha an ultimatum in an attempt to finally settle the situation.
Okay, this is your choice. You can either give us an ID so that we can do a report on this and find out who you are, or we're going to take you in front of the presiding judge. He's going to hold you in contempt, which means that he can hold you for as long as he wants.
I'm remaining silent.
Okay, let's do it.
10 minutes went by, and then Lieutenant Milazzo finally came back with news, or better called threats, against Samantha, who, as everyone should do, just remained in silence.
Okay.
Yes.
We're going to probably take her in front of the judge.
Okay.
He's going to hold her in contempt for, I think, right.
Here's the thing. Okay, folks, you know when somebody's lying when he says, and he's going to hold her in contempt. He has no idea what the judge is going to do. But apparently he believes in mysticism because he probably went in the back and asked his crystal what the judge was going to do. He think that's how he's gotten away. This is his policing, folks. That's the police officer. That's your police force. This woman here is well within her rights to do exactly what she's doing. She has done absolutely nothing wrong. And nor have any of the other people. that I've watched doing this same thing. This one guy tells him to go pound sand. He says, "Get out of here. You work for me. You're dismissed. Goodbye." And he goes off on him. And cops don't do anything to him. It's hilarious to watch.
Right now he's doing 90 days.
Okay.
So, is that okay with you?
Remain silent.
Being silent.
You realize you're going to go to Cook County Jail for 90 days.
Remain silent.
Okay?
Okay.
Now you have an option. All you have to do is show us an ID so that we can do a report, and we'll let you go on your way.
I have an option.
Yeah.
We told you.
Okay, here's the thing. He doesn't have anything on her. So he's hoping that if he runs her ID, he'll find something. Right now, he's unlawfully detaining her and he's unlawfully imprisoned her.
Do that before.
Because right now you're just obstructing and you're in contempt.
Obstructing what?
You're obstructing us from doing our job.
I'm remaining silent.
All right, cuff her. Let's get her purse.
Ken.
Get her stuff.
I don't consent to searches.
Well, we don't care anymore. Okay?
Samantha was finally handcuffed and arrested for obstruction to later be freed without any charges. But what the officers are unaware of is that not only did they commit an illegal act, but multiple: unlawful detainment, intimidation, illegal arrest, dereliction of duty, unlawful search and destruction of private property. Shortly after, Samantha was able to hire one of the best lawyers in the country and sued Cook County for multiple civil rights violations. The case has been going on for a few years now, and the conclusion is not yet known, but a part of all of this that we have is the following footage of both the deposition of Lieutenant Milazzo and Sergeant Jennifer Larson. What unfolded in the following never-before-seen footage is one of the biggest and most shocking proofs of ignorance of the law and ineptitude in police history.
Is it against the law to take pictures of a courthouse from outside?
No, not that I know.
Okay. Is it lawful to arrest somebody for taking pictures outside of the courthouse?
No, not that I know.
Okay. Is there something
Keep your voice up, please.
Okay, sorry.
So I gotta get every word because it's on video.
Okay.
Awfully
Are you familiar
cooperative now,
with
isn't
this
she?
case at all?
Which case?
The case that brings us here today, that you're testifying in.
Yes.
Okay, and in a nutshell, what's the case about?
I would say that Amanda is, I guess I called you to say that she was outside videoing when she shouldn't have been. So she's saying we violated her amendment rights.
You're correct. When you say when she shouldn't have been, what does that mean? Was she doing something wrong?
Just something unusual, what us as officers would consider unusual.
Unusual, okay.
Having shown zero knowledge of the law, Samantha's
That what she just described is an absolute police state. The police officers are deciding what's illegal and what isn't. This is the US, folks. And you wonder why I don't want to be a part of it. And a lot of other people don't want to be either. Because of this. This right here, the one you're looking at, is so ignorant. Why would you give her a gun? She'll shoot her foot off. She doesn't know what the law is yet. They gave her a gun and said, go out and get this person. And shoot whoever you want, basically. If you deem it illegal, then it must be right. Because why? Because you're the police.
lawyer then decides to push Sergeant Jennifer further to try to make her slip even more.
She's halfway down the hill.
Depending on where you are in the country, Mormons are unusual, right? Depending on where you are, it might be unusual to see a Mormon. Do you get to detain Mormons in those places?
I don't know. People detain Mormons.
You're gonna have to speak
I don't know if they detain Mormons.
Would it be lawful? Just because it's unusual?
No, I don't.
Okay. Is there something unlawful about recording outside of a building?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Let me ask you this. Was Miss doing anything illegal when she was detained?
No, I would say it was not illegal, unusual.
Talking about unusual things, the statement that follows is something a police officer should never even be allowed to say.
In order to detain somebody, what do you have to have legally? Do you know?
I do not know the law legally.
And if you still think that at least Lieutenant Milazzo knew what he was doing, well, you're wrong.
What would you do if one of those people said to you, what's the difference between arrest and detain? What would your answer be?
We'd call legal.
Mr. Gorman, seated to your left?
No. Sheriff has their own legal.
Oh, okay. Their own legal who helps them understand things like the difference between arrest and detain?
Yes.
Gotcha.
27 years, folks. And this guy's a lieutenant and does not know the difference between an arrest and detainment. Detain is if they think that you're going to try to get some evidence, but you got to have probable cause that the evidence is there. Real simple. And then if you find the evidence you're looking for, then you've got a crime. Now the man's under arrest. This guy doesn't know that. I'm not even a cop. I know that. But this guy is sitting here, this idiot. You've been paying his salary, man, for 27 years. And you can tell Chubbs will not give up a chip or a donut. You know that. Because I guarantee he can't pass the physical. And you're paying this guy.
Was there a lawful basis to handcuff her?
Yes.
Okay, and what was that lawful basis?
Officer safety.
Here, Lieutenant Milazzo has just confirmed not to know the difference between an arrest and a detainment, an occasion in which, if they need help, he indicates they just go ahead and call the office's lawyer to help them. The question remains then, how can someone work 27 years as a police officer and not know the law?
Did you have any reasonable suspicion that she was committing a crime?
We had reasonable suspicion to ask her what she was doing and why she was doing it, just to get who she was and why.
You and I agree on that you had the right to ask her whatever you wanted to ask her. Did you have the right to put her in handcuffs?
Officer safety.
For the security of the officers, yes.
Okay. What made her a threat?
Her refusing to give any information that was requested of her.
Was she legally obligated to give that information?
When an officer has asked her for security purposes to give her identity up, yes, we do have the right to ask for an identity of somebody for our safety.
20 years of service, and Sergeant Larson believes that she's not safe unless she runs your name. Not the kind of cop I would like to encounter if I'm being pulled over.
Have you ever heard of something called a Terry search or a Terry frisk?
I have.
Okay, what is that?
I'm not going to say exactly. I don't know the law.
Okay.
Seeing how she has no clue of anything related to law, Samantha's lawyer then decides to make up a hypothetical scenario to further prove his point on how wrong the arrest was.
Police officer goes over to somebody on the street. Let's call the person Mr. Plaintiff.
Okay.
Police officer goes to Mr. Plaintiff and says, hey, let me see your ID. And Mr. Plaintiff says, no. Is the officer now allowed to put Mr. Plaintiff in handcuffs and detain him?
I object. It's a hypothetical. It calls for speculation.
Yeah.
You can answer.
Okay. I do believe, yes, for officer safety, they do have the right.
Doesn't there have to be reasonable suspicion that the person committed a criminal offense or violated a law?
I don't know the law exactly.
At least we saw so far how Jennifer takes responsibility and accepts that she doesn't know the law, in big contrast to her lieutenant, who instead pretends not to understand any of the questions the lawyer asks and makes fun of the situation.
If you could go back in time to the day that you arrested her, would you still arrest her?
So you're asking me if I can go back in time?
Yeah.
I don't know how I could do that.
Okay. Did you understand my question?
I did, and you're asking me to suppose whether or not I can go back in time. I can't.
So you can't tell me if you would still arrest her?
I can't tell you what would happen on that day if I went back in time, no.
He's using the same reasoning that if he really doesn't know how to read, let's go back and go to the absurd and say, I don't know if I could try to make you feel stupid, because that's how stupid he feels.
Is this an attempt to be funny?
Not a bit.
Are you trying to answer my questions?
I'm trying to answer your question.
You really can't figure this out because you can't wrap your head around time travel. That's what you're saying?
Object. Again, I mean, I'm going to object. It's getting to be harassing again. I mean, is this what the question is? Hypothetical time travel backwards?
Is that really how you interpreted the question also?
Is that what you're asking? If he could go back in time, would he do it differently? Is that not what you're asking?
Yeah, that is what I asked him.
Going back to Sergeant Jennifer, the interrogation continues and her responses don't get any better as time goes on.
Is there any reasonable suspicion that she was committing a crime, yes or no?
We weren't sure what she was doing.
Okay, so if you don't know what somebody's doing, do you have reasonable suspicion that they're doing anything in particular?
No, but we have a reasonable response to ask what she was doing.
Right, agreed. You could ask her what she's doing. And when she refuses to answer, are you now allowed to detain her?
Yes.
Who told you this? That you get to detain people who are videoing and refuse to identify themselves when asked?
No one.
That is the face of someone getting caught, being held accountable, and humiliated for their illicit actions. Despite always refusing to admit that she had done wrong, everything was captured on camera and the answer is clear as water at this point. But this is not over, as in complete opposite to Sergeant Larson, Lieutenant Milazzo wasn't going to go down without a fight.
Are you familiar with the Fourth Amendment, by the way?
Vaguely.
What does
Never
it say
read
in
it.
your own vague terms?
No illegal search and seizure.
Right, unless there's,
Probable cause.
or,
Okay. That's about all I know.
okay, all right, good enough. He said that's about all I know. All right, now, there was somebody else who asked you the same question that I just asked you about your familiarity with the Fourth Amendment, who's in this room right now. Do you know who that person was? My client. This asked you that, didn't she?
I don't recall.
She asked you, are you familiar with the Fourth Amendment? You don't remember that?
No.
Lieutenant Milazzo admits not to recall neither the location in which this happened nor who actually asked him, when in reality, all of us know that it was Samantha and he's just playing dumb and everything was recorded as we saw before.
I talked to a lawyer.
Okay, call your lawyer.
That includes my camera as far as consent.
Well, it's already on.
Are you
So.
familiar with the Fourth Amendment?
Oh, great. Why do we always get the crazies?
I don't know.
After recalling the incident, the lawyer brings up his offensive comment towards Samantha at the time.
If I tell you that your answer was, oh great,
Bam! HelloFresh.
All right,
Shrimp
sorry, we
spaghetti
got-
with the kick is what we're gonna make. You guys know that HelloFresh makes cooking dinner.
why do we always get the crazies? Would you dispute that?
No.
Does that sound like something you would say to somebody?
That's something I did say that day, yes.
So you remember saying that?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember saying that in response to the question, are you familiar with the Fourth Amendment?
No, I just remember saying it.
Why is it that you felt she was one of the crazies?
When people act in a way that is not in their best interest.
How was she acting that was not in her best interest?
Well, at any time, all she had to do was identify herself. We could have done our report. You have an option. All you have to do is show us an ID so that we could do a report, and we'll let you go on your way. And everything could have gone the own.
And if somebody were to threaten you that unless you comply with their demands, they're going to put you in handcuffs, would you automatically necessarily comply with their demands?
Yes.
No object.
You would.
Calls for speculation.
He was able to answer. So you would. So even if there's somebody who is acting as a law enforcement officer, giving you an unlawful order, threatening you with detainment or arrest or 90 days jail, if you don't comply with their unlawful demands, you would still comply?
Yes.
Alrighty. Is that what you expected her to do, to comply?
Yes.
Having heard
That, folks, right there, I don't need to go any further. You're welcome to look up this video yourself. That is a neo-Nazi. That's a Nazi right there. That's how they thought. I was just following orders. I do what I do. If someone threatens me, then I comply. It's lawless. Doesn't have any rules. Not everything goes. That's why they're dangerous. All right, I'm going to tell you why. When you see that, you probably saw my Google search here on the Patriot Act. All of this stems from the Patriot Act. George Bush Jr., okay, I call him Junior like that because he's a junior. The boy was messed with his whole life. His dad corrupted the crap out of him. And he's just a I want to make daddy happy type guy. Okay. His dad's dead. You haven't heard much from him since his mom and dad died. Congress enacted the Patriot Act by overwhelming bipartisan margins, arming law enforcement with new tools. Now they're old tools to detect and prevent terrorism. So this is why you're sitting there. This is why the Patriot Act is what they call unconstitutional. And I'm not even a constitutionalist. Okay? I don't believe in its founders who wrote it. I think these guys were all devil worshippers. I know one of them was in a menage a trois with somebody else for 3 years, him and his wife. I know that all of them decided they wanted to go through start exercising man's reason over any kind of belief system, which means they refused to acknowledge our Father in heaven. They refused to acknowledge Yeshua. They refused to acknowledge the set apart spirit. And we all know what happens in that book, what that book says about people who refuse that. So now we know where they all are. George Washington himself, that everybody sits there and worships, basically. The boy's in hell because he did exactly opposite. And everybody that has died and come back and ever either seen heaven or hell knows the truth. And there are more and more people doing that. There are more and more people. Every one of them have a different story. Because the spirit world, their world, Jesus is trying to reach out to people and say, look, too many of you are going to be in here. And I call it eternal regret. Others call it perish. And they don't want to do this. But that's the way it is. And I think next week I'm going to go through with my experience on the narrow way and let everybody know why, with all these questions that people have, why God lets this happen, why he lets that happen, why all this and why all that. And yes, I know the answers to those questions. I'll talk to you next week about that. Okay? In our the subscription class we have, Freedom Through Education. And that was named after a slave who I thought of a slave who freed himself by becoming a professor. He freed himself because he was like more intelligent than the owners, so he no longer needed to be a slave or wanted to be a slave, so he was able to be free because of education, freedom through education. If you want to be free, you have to be educated. Because you got to deal with people like that. Dummy lieutenant. I wouldn't follow an order that idiot said. They'd have to put me in another station because that boy is too stupid. That sergeant is too dumb for me to listen to. You have to be able to respect the people that you work for and respect the people that you follow. If you're going to respect a guy like that, the lieutenant, and you're going to respect a woman like that who's a sergeant, doesn't know the law, why would you work for them and do what they tell you? They're going to get you in trouble just like they got themselves in trouble. Over a camera, folks. The reason why I'm talking about the Patriot Act. Patriot Act came in and said, okay, cops, you get to do whatever you want. Because why? Because George Bush Jr. was doing what Daddy said. Everybody knows they lied in Iraq. Everybody knows all that stuff. They know they got over 50-something thousand people killed in Iraq. I don't know how many Iraqis. It was I think it was like 500,000. They got a bunch of people killed. And then they went over, grabbed the oil. That's all it was about. Everybody knows that the war was about oil. Saddam Hussein got a little powerful, got too powerful. A lot of the younger generation doesn't know this, but Saddam Hussein used to work for the CIA. They put him in power over there so that they could get oil out of the country without anybody stealing. That's what it was. That's all that was happening. They were also working with the poppy fields over in Afghanistan. Saddam Hussein kept the peace over there. He was a tyrannical a-hole. That's what he was. But he was perfect for the job. To get oil and to get the poppy seeds out of Afghanistan. What are poppy seeds? Heroin. Okay? It's just drugs and oil. That's all it was. So that's their god. Gold, oil, diamonds. That's what they do. So, what you've got there is a big international thing that was going on over there, and what's happened is it's trickled down into the local. So there are a group of people and a couple of other organizations that are going around and getting arrested on purpose and suing them. There was one guy, okay? The class we're going to hold is much more detailed than what I'm telling you here. But what they're doing is they're getting settled for 50,000, 75,000, 300,000. One got $500,000 that I saw. It took about 2 or 3 years, but it happened. And there's a way to make sure that this doesn't happen where this happens where nobody gets hurt. Because what you're doing is you're exposing corrupt individuals. So it all comes from the Patriot Act. It all comes from a inside job at 9/11, at going after their own buildings. Everybody knows that you've seen the explosions all the way up the building. They were demoed. They didn't go down because it caught on fire because an airplane went into it. Everybody knows that all that demolition was put in the building to knock the building down. Well, on 9/11, you weren't attacked, folks. Nobody attacked you. That didn't happen. What happened is they demoed 2 buildings, the Twin Towers. You watched a demolition with people inside of it. A demolition. If you can change your mindset from 9/11, from a terrorist attack to demolition, then you're starting to reach reality. You're starting to see what's going on. Little George Bushy could care less. He lives down in Texas. Could absolutely care less whether your rights are being stomped or not. He's got control of the whole thing. They're not going to go after an ex-president that they know that's just as corrupt as they are. So you're going to what they need to do is, under redress of grievances, if they're going to enforce the First, Fifth, Fourth, and 14th Amendment, if they're going to enforce that in the courts, now you have a chance also under civil rights to go after the Patriot Act and do what they call a redress of grievance. And you can file that, you serve Congress the redress of grievance. Hey, your Patriot Act violates your whole Constitution. It needs to go. Based on its wording, it's repugnant to the Constitution. Repugnant means if the Constitution were an individual, it would puke it out like it's sick. Or the Patriot Act would be the runs, getting rid of a virus. They did not have to do the Patriot Act. Nothing like that had to happen. Terrorism is not happening, and it's not because of the Patriot Act, because it's already been proven that it was an inside job. Saudi Arabia had nothing to do with it. Matter of fact, Muslims had nothing to do with it, which is surprising to me, but they had nothing to do with it. How do I know that? Okay, let's go with one statement there out of all the books and all the, okay, this is Congress. Gets billions upon billions of tax dollars every day. Okay? Billions and billions of tax dollars every day. You can hire the best experts in the world. Okay? Now, I saw what happened to the Pentagon. The Pentagon was not hit by an airplane. Now you owe me $5 million, Pentagon, because I just earned my pay because I just gave you a fact that you were not attacked by an airliner, a 747 or a 727. That was not used as a missile. So now you owe me some money because I just gave you an expert opinion that was factual that the Pentagon was hit with a missile. So here's the question. You guys are the Pentagon. Why did you attack your own building? To make yourself look like a victim. Oh, that's another accurate question. I think you owe me another $5 million because it's expert opinion. Your other experts didn't get past the airplane. They couldn't figure that out. That it wasn't an airplane. There were no bodies anywhere. I saw the pictures. I saw the freaking missile hit. There you go. You owe me some money now because you got expert opinion here. Because I watched a video. The point I'm making, folks, here is this. If you think that the Pentagon was hit by an airplane, educate yourself, because it wasn't. There's no list of bodies. Where's the bodies that died at the Pentagon? Where are they? Besides the people that were inside, where are the other list of people that were in the airplane? Go try to find it. You'll never find it. So that means a lot of people were lying on that day under George Bush's watch, his watch. Okay? And Cheney has just been, he's really a nobody. He's been living off the Bush family for a long time. All of their bad deeds and all the things that they do illegal, crimes and things like that they commit. Talking about the Bush family. And here's the thing. I think it was like the early 2010, the Bush family comes out and starts saying something or starts talking about Trump. I don't know what it was. But they come out and they start talking. They thought people would listen to them. They think that people respect them. That's what a delusion they're in. But it was that idiot. Folks, the Patriot Act was written close to 1989, 1990, when George Bush Sr. was in office. That's been a plan through a family the whole time. So they had to fake an attack, which is what it was. They demoed the building, blamed it on people that weren't even involved. Found most of the people that were blamed for it alive overseas. This is when the information was really flowing out. So it was all a ruse. It was all just a fake thing to get you to give up some rights so that they could start making an industry out of private prisons. They were privatizing the prisons. That was the real goal. The real goal was to privatize prisons and make it a money machine. And so you could use your Bob Barker soap. Even Bob Barker, Mr. Bob Barker, everybody loved in Price is Right for 20-something years, 30, however many years it was, 35, I think. And so he could go on there and sell soap. He put his name on all of that stuff. The soap, the toothpaste, the comb, all the awesome stuff they give you when you first get there. They made it a money machine in the stock market. And now it has grown so well that it is 60%. This is out of the Supreme Court. It is 60% of the economy. Oh boy, I want to be a part of the U.S. That sounds like a real fun place to live. When you have 2 to 3 million people in prison. And most of them are administration violations. Oh, they didn't have the right document. They didn't have an ID. Oh, they didn't have an ID card. And if they did, they refused it. So I'm going to go ahead and put some stuff on. You go back in my car. You big bully. You could be dangerous. That's what those people like that sound like. Not all of them. You may have 1 or 2 in there that are pretty decent people. Otherwise, it'd be chaos through the whole thing. They have enough power to keep it under control. If that woman does not know the law, which she said at least 15 times, why don't you know the law? Or did you just memorize something? Or you just do what you feel when you go out there? Yeah, I want to see that on your special monthly present you give everybody. That's really fun on those 5 days. When you go out and just do what you feel. Or you get past 45 and go through menopause. I'm sure that's a treat to go through that. But you don't know anything about law, but you go out there and do what you feel. Well, I felt like I was in danger. So I wanted to put handcuffs on them and throw them in jail, and then I feel better. And when they start doing what I tell them, I'll feel better. That's what you call the level of maturity that you're dealing with. So I would highly suggest, because you're going to keep getting nailed, and this movement is going to start growing, and the people are going to get a little bit smarter than you are, and they are going to tear your butts up. Then all of a sudden, the bar is raised. Now, back in 2016, I told every one of you people in uniform that eventually what's going to happen is you're going to keep up with what you're doing. Then what's going to happen is the communists are going to start coming at you. And guess what they're going to do? They're going to start getting you fired and retired left and right. And then what's going to happen is they're going to start walking behind you and shooting you in the back of the head. I told you that was going to happen. I had nothing to do with it, but I wasn't looking at my crystal in the back room praying to whatever God there was to figure that information out. That was simple common sense. And that eluded every one of you. I told you what was going to happen. And I warned you and warned you. And what'd you do? You laughed at me. How many of your police officers dead now? Because you didn't listen to simple common sense. Now I'm going to tell you what's going to happen now. Within the next 3 to 5 years, everyone is going to start admitting or knowing what their rights are. That's going to be highly dangerous for you idiots, for your lieutenants and sergeants that don't know the law. Y'all better get a book, start reading. Because what's going to happen is you're not going to be able to get insurance anymore, because insurance is going to stop paying for your dumbass. It may take 2 or 3 years. That's no problem. But if somebody starts looking at this as a career and gets arrested at least 10 times a month and has got 10 different lawsuits in there in that month time, that becomes, after a while, especially when he has you and has you set up for doing stupid things. Because I'm watching this guy do it. He gets them set up and then they go and, oh man, they fall for it every time. They'll fall for it, or they go through the walk of shame. What they're doing is they're exposing you for what you are. I highly suggest you change your attitudes. This is becoming grown-up time. Okay, we're in grown-up time here. Whomever is training you needs to be fired and sued. Because whoever they are unbelievably retarded. But these people are getting 700, 800, 1 million hits that are going around and just simply filming a police station. And the funny thing is, not one of them had admitted, except for Mr. Lieutenant there, Homeland Security in the Patriot Act. That's where it's coming from. It's coming from George Bushy and his dad, who's dead now. And so is his mother. And who ripped off Iraq, made millions out of there, took all their art, millions upon millions in art. By the way, I wonder, if you have an art piece and you steal it, how do you do anything with it, right? Well, that's called a bank account. When this is called their market, okay, folks. If you wonder why art is, they'll have an artist there and he's put his cigarette out in the art piece he has and maybe peed on it or whatever, and it just looks stupid. And they go, "Oh, that's just so artful. Well, I'll give you 20 million for it." What they're doing is they're just moving money back and forth. They're bypassing PayPal. And that's why they want this digital currency, because they're tired of buying art. They buy the art, give it to somebody else that pays your debt. Good to go. That's how it works. Art is money, just like anything else. Okay? Your problems, folks, and this is why this is why you don't like police officers if you don't like them. You know they're doing something wrong, you just don't know what. And the police officer, this is what broke my heart, is that police officer sitting there, okay? This is what I felt back in 2010. I felt betrayed. They betrayed me because I trusted them. I trusted them since I was in 4th grade. Not anymore. I don't trust a thing that comes out of their mouth. If their mouth is moving, they're lying. That's the way it works. Because he came back and said, "You know what the Fourth Amendment is?" And he tried to belittle her, that lieutenant, so she wouldn't pay attention. That means he knew what it was and he was doing it on purpose. He's a prick. He's corrupt. And a lot of them are doing this. And I honestly believe most of them have to go to acting school, because they act, man, they can sit and lie to you with a straight face, no problem. And they're lying. And especially if you know you're right, they're lying. Well, I'm going to detain you. Oh, really? What's the crime? Blah, 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 blah. So we're going to cover a lot of this. And we're going to start a simple movement of, let's educate people. That's what needs to happen. My people are destroyed through lack of knowledge. Let's make up that lack of knowledge. So I'll buckle up and deal with this. Know what your rights are. Know what you have a right to do. Keep your nose clean. And if somebody wants to come in and start taking your rights, you tear them up like a bobcat tears up a mouse. Okay? Because this is what's going to happen. Don't have any mercy, because they're not going to give you it. That lieutenant and sergeant did what they did. They didn't have any repentance. There was no feeling sorry for what they did. Nothing whatsoever. What they did on purpose and didn't care. How they did it, how it affected that woman, how it affects anybody when you come in contact with cops that are dirty like this or just plain stupid, and what you start seeing them as. Because you start realizing, hey, man, they ain't what I thought they were. There's something wrong there. You know, maybe all these people that are complaining about them may have a point. And all the people are asking him to do is just follow the freaking rules. You're asking everybody else to follow rules. Follow the rules. And that should be the slogan. Follow the rules. If I'm not doing anything, don't automatically assume I'm going to attack you, because you know why you assume that is because what? Oh, you've been violating people's rights for years and you're expecting retaliation. That's called a guilty conscience. And that scam that Bush threw in there was, oh, don't what terrorists do is they go around and film the police stations so they can find weak parts so they can blow it up. When's the last time a police station was blown up? Oh, that's right. It was by the communists. The communists did that. The ones I warned you about. All I can tell them is get your heads out, man. You're about to hit it again, and you're going to start getting it in the pocketbook. And eventually, you're going to have to start paying out of your own pocket, your own retirement, because all these cases you're going to have to pay for. Oh, well, the city pays for it. Well, that makes your taxes go up. But you didn't care about that. You don't care about other people like you say you do. If you cared about other people, you keep your nose clean, do your job. If the guy went 45 and a 35, fine, write the man a ticket. He pays the fine, everybody goes home. It's not a big deal. But what do? You pull him over for 45 and a 35. Instead of writing the ticket, what do? You start violating the Fourth Amendment, start violating the First and Fifth. With, it smells like marijuana in there. No, probably doesn't. I know you're lying, and it probably doesn't. But you're doing it so you can find something that has a bigger bond, a bigger arrest, all that stuff, because you get paid by it. We know this. You get paid personally. Then you go, oh, this is what a police officer specifically told me, folks. Every a ticket they write, they get training hours. They call it that because they want to get around the Federal Reserve, right? Or any kind of federal this or federal that doing anything illegal. So they get paid in training hours. Now, what they don't tell you is they can actually turn in those training hours for money, for tickets to the Cayman Islands, stuff like that. That's what that's all about. And the bigger the ticket they write, the more money they get paid. So how many innocent people have gone to jail because they didn't know their rights? Number one. How many innocent people went to jail over something stupid? How many people's lives were ruined because of Lieutenant Doodah in there? All the Doodah day. How many people's lives has he ruined? How many marriages has he broken up? I'm not saying there's not guilty people out there. I'm not saying that they're not needed. But what we need is better. Way better than the 10% that you have out there now. They're about 10% of the 100% they need to be. And you guys are losing cops left and right because you're not training them. You're not helping them. You're giving them a shoddy training, shoddy knowledge, shoddy this, shoddy that. They're not real cops. They're just I don't know, stamped, rubber stamping them, putting a uniform on them and say, how proud they are to go out there and do this, and how proud, all this majesty crap and everything else. And they don't deserve it. They don't deserve that kind of praise. Because every single time they go out there and mess with somebody's rights like that, that person never forgets. Never forgets. And when you see somebody sitting there all nervous and everything, it's because they've had cops before messing with them. And they're getting nervous that this is going to happen to them again. That means that's how they see you on a daily basis, because of one stupid cop who broke the law with him. And now he thinks there's no remedy here. Well, they're starting to create a remedy, folks. I'm watching it, and it's starting to work. So we might as well use that remedy when dealing with the U.S. Because the reason why most of the people don't want to be a part of them is because of who they are now. It's a delicate balance, but I think it'll work. If you don't want to, if you don't care about citizenship or don't care about doing anything right as far as, or actually putting a country right, that's fine. You can stick with the First Amendment, 10 amendments, and or 15 amendments, or whatever your Constitution. Use those as rules. That hell, Congress ain't using the Constitution anyways, so they're not even listed in the Constitution. They're Constitution of the United States, not U.S. Constitution. And I don't even think they have a U.S. Constitution. But you know, we'll play the game. We'll sit back and act like they do, and everybody will act like they know the truth, and everybody act like this is real. Okay, so just everything's a stage. But if it's working and you're enforcing it, fine. We'll play along with that delusion, and away you go. Need to petition, redress of grievance, getting rid of the Patriot Act, completely getting rid of it. Wipe it out, get rid of the statute, take it off the books for being unconstitutional. That is what happens next. You do that, it frees up a lot of people to do a lot of things. Now, here's your problem. Here's going to be the problem. The Dems brought in all these people for votes in an election. Okay, this is the next election coming up. They brought all these illegals, gave them ID cards, and said, okay, you're going to vote for us. That's called, what do you call it? Or was it election tampering? Yeah, I guess they called that. They're tampering with the election right out there in the open. And nobody's saying anything. That's called redress of grievance. And what you do is if they don't do it, then it goes right into a court. Then they go, well, that's not the rules. Well, it is the rules because you don't have any rules. So we just do that and make that the rule. Okay? And go from there. So you got a completely open slate here. Maybe something can be done. Meanwhile, I and some others will stay within the reign of the heavens. We know who our king is, and we enjoy every day of a peaceful existence. So thank you for listening to the T Row Show. Once again, we'll see you next week.